Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's me again, Jesha Miller. Notice to all members of Congress, a notice to all members of Congress, the Senate and the House. Government must be held accountable as I petition the Constitution's checks and balances. The entire judicial branch of government, as I've said in different segments on YouTube, is corrupt. From United States Supreme Court, now there is evidence that the Justice Department, run by United States Attorney General Loretta Lynch, is corrupt, as they have failed to process a petition in a timely manner of 60 to 90 days with the ulterior motive of evading the Constitution's checks and balances. Now, we got corruption in the Justice Department and the entire judicial branch. So, Congress must address the Constitution's checks and balances right now. Again, the motive is money and power. As the motive is money, that's economic oppression to keep me and deny me the $50 million owed for default on the 14th Amendment right to due process. If a person is not duly processed, the entire process is void. As I have said, government must be held accountable. The United States Supreme Court must be held accountable for the motive of the economic oppression. The United States Supreme Court must be held accountable for abuse of power in denying the habeas corpus, which is a power denied government to secure the right to freedom when a citizen is held in violation of the Constitution and the laws of the United States. The United States Supreme Court must be held accountable for dereliction of duty. When addressed by habeas corpus, they have a duty to check the records and, if true as alleged, release the citizen immediately from the unconstitutional imprisonment, which they failed to do. The United States Supreme Court must be held accountable for imposed slavery. Yes, the United States Supreme Court has imposed slavery. Now, when a man is brought by habeas corpus to the United States Supreme Court, and upon review it appears to the court that he was against the law, imprisoned and detained, he shall never be by an act of the court remain to his unlawful imprisonment, for then the United States Supreme Court does an act of injustice in imprisoning him de novo against the law. Now, we got the United States Supreme Court violating the right to freedom, which was an act against the law. Now, Vanderburgh County Circuit Court Judge David Kiley must be held accountable for the federal crime pursuant to Title 18, Section 243, which is the exclusion of jurors on account of race. The statutory prohibition on discrimination in the selection of jurors, 18 U.S.C. Section 243, enacted pursuant to the 14th Amendment's enabling clause, makes race neutral in jury selection a visible measure of the judicial system's own commitment to the demands of the Constitution. The courts are under an affirmative duty to enforce a strong statutory and constitutional policies embodied in that prohibition. You prohibited from doing this, but they done it. Government must be held accountable, and Congress, you now, must address the checks and balances so that the judicial branch of government must be checked for corruption. Now, as this I've said, United States Supreme Court, now the Justice Department, every one of them, as I've said before, under the code of ethics of every employee by government, must uphold the Constitution and the laws of the United States and never be a part of its evasion. And they also must expose corruption wherever discovered, as this has been petitioned to United States Attorney General Loretta Lynch. She must be held accountable for the concealment of corruption and a federal crime which aids and abets a criminal from justice. So again, government must be held accountable. This is a notice to the members of Congress. And while we're there sitting here doing this, federal government have not yet given James Brown, justice from the South Carolina court justice system, violated his 14th Amendment right. James Brown. But no need to worry. Mr. Kevin Jones is on the job of exonerating his brother, James Brown. I must put that in there because, as I said, the government has been doing this, violating the 14th Amendment to right to due process. Now, how they've kept this from the public, concealed, so that no one knows, so it will not be on CNN, so it's not been in the Associated Press, so it has not been on Good Morning America. Mr. Tom Sabrowski, you need to check your Facebook, you need to check your emails. I'm demanding to be booked on Good Morning America. Said, well, I see the president watches that, so the president and Congress and everybody else and the entire nation will know of corruption in the entire judicial branch of government. I've executed my First Amendment right that enables every citizen at any time to bring the government and any person in authority to the bar of public opinion by any just criticism upon their conduct in the exercise of authority which the people have conferred upon him. We done put these people in office, gave them our trust, and this is what we got. So, they dug their own hole on this. This is what they done, and government must be held accountable, and all members of Congress, the Senate and the House, must address this immediately. The media refused to publish the checks and balances petitioned by me. This is supported by irrefutable evidence of dereliction of duty and abuse of power. By denying that right, that's the concealment of corruption, the concealment of abuse of power and economic oppression. So much is said for CNN, the most trusted in the news business. They're not being able to be trusted, so the FCC, Tom Wheeler is the chairman, and you have a total of 5 commissioners. They've been sent their emails, and they need to act accordingly and immediately upon this, because in the letter of public broadcasting, they justify this in writing by stating, the FCC allows each individual radio and TV station licensee the discretion to select what its station broadcasts and to otherwise determine how it is best served its community of license. Therefore, we will not be allowing me access to airtime as I have not requested, but demanded and executed my First Amendment right. Now, what the people must and Congress must realize right here is when they've left this up to the discretion as to what they want to put on, and for the public's sake, they're concealing. In Evansville, you got Eyewitness News, you got Channel 14 News, and 44, they just straight up delaying. I ain't looked. How you not gonna look when there is evidence of corruption in the highest court? And this all started in Evansville, Indiana by Judge David Kiley. So you're concealing to the public of Evansville that Judge David Kiley and the Vandenberg court system is corrupt. That's what you do, and that's in the best interest of the public? No, it isn't. That's concealing corruption. That's aiding and abetting a criminal from justice, because in this crime, pursuant to Title 18, Section 243, clearly states crime has been committed whether he was black or white. We could say Chinese, Lebanese, or any kind. A crime has been committed whether he was convicted or acquitted. Plainly stated, a crime has been committed and he must be held accountable. Now, again, when we look at this, and we most certainly have to go to the constitutional right in this situation. And this is what the First Amendment would have to say about this. The purpose of the speech press clauses has evidently been to protect parties in the free publication of matters of public concern. This is a matter of public concern. All the universities, certainly all the citizens, the American Bar Association, the National Bar Association, everybody must be concerned when the judicial branch of government, there's evidence of that being corrupt. To secure their right to a free discussion of public events and public measures, and to enable every citizen at any time to bring the government and any person in authority to the bar of public opinion by any just criticism. And certainly abuse of power, corruption, money and power are the basis for corruption justifies this. Now it clearly states also the evils to be prevented were not the censorship of the press merely, as you done gave it to the discretion of the press, of the media, whether or not they want to put this on. And it's sitting certain here in the First Amendment. We certainly do not only want to prevent that, but any action of the government by means of which it might prevent such free and general discussion of public matters as seems absolutely essential to prepare the people for an intelligent exercise of their rights as citizens. Now, what the mass media is sitting here done is conceal this. When the First Amendment says this is an evil to be prevented, clearly I got to be in the right on this, as I'm supported by the First Amendment. So, the FCC and the 5 commissioners, what they can do in this situation, as you've then gave them the right and discretion to put on what they want to put on, has to be put in there, except when you are bringing this and you have evidence of corruption of the government. You have evidence of corruption by those people put in position of authority and their conduct as they abuse their power. Then the media no longer has the discretion, as the Constitution has stated, of which I've read. This is an evil to be prevented. And when they were sitting there saying, no, you just got freedom of speech, you don't have the freedom of the press. So, it also states clearly in this First Amendment, despite popular misunderstanding, the right to freedom of the press guaranteed by the First Amendment is not very different from the right to freedom of speech. It's not no difference. It allows an individual to express themselves through publication and dissemination. And this word dissemination is the act of spreading something, especially information, widely. And it's all before Watergate was given unlimited press coverage. This is the checks and balances. That was what Watergate was, the checks and balances. I am entitled to unlimited coverage on this. as it's also unprecedented. Never before is nobody got evidence of corruption in the United States Supreme Court. That's how they run the appellate court system, so it no longer works, takes priority over all matters. Everybody in Congress, listen, this takes priority over all matters. Corruption in the United States Supreme Court that has been concealed from the government with the help of the media. So, as I said, the FCC, Tom Wheeler, Chairman, Mignon Clyburn, Commissioner, Jessica Rosen-Warsell, Commissioner, Ajit Pai, I hope I'm saying it correct, I don't want to misdangle up your name, Commissioner, and Michael O'Reilly, also the Commissioner. This has been sent to you. I know it's only been 2 days that you've had this, but when this to the magnitude of corruption in the entire branch of government, you cannot sit on your laurels on this one. And again, Congress, you are not be able to sit on your laurels on this one. This is the notice to Congress. It will be set up in your Facebook. This will be emailed to you, and all members of Congress, Senate and the House, must take notice and address this immediately. Government has to be held accountable. Notice to all members of Congress and the Senate. It's showtime. Time to get it on. Let's do this. Now you got to put up. And in the process of doing this, as I said the last, but first things first, as you address this, you must pay me my $50 million for default and a miscarriage of justice by the United States Supreme Court. The motive must be taken out of the equation. Pay me my $50 million, and it's time to get it on. Capitol Hill no longer conceal this. Mr. President Barack Hussein Obama, it's your last motion that you can do in office right here. You must be held accountable for abuse of power and corruption, and it is your number one duty to see that the laws are faithfully executed. Your number one duty, Mr. President. Y'all may not have a Speaker of the House at this time, but to all members of Congress, Senate and the House, the checks and balances must be addressed immediately due to corruption in the entire judicial branch of government, and this takes priority over all matters. You got people coming in to take that office. It's going to be vacated, and the American people are tired of government corruption. Thank you very much. Jesha Miller at you once again. Showtime this time. Let's do it.